Hello and welcome to the first ever Rising match day this Friday, the 30th of April. I'm Owain Evans. Joining me alongside is Arizona Sports' Jake Anderson, and we're going to be talking through tonight's game against San Diego Loyal. Coming up on today's show, the next generation of Rising player taking the field over the past month. We chat everything Academy with coach Danny Stone. A familiar side to open the season, but what is San Diego bringing to the table this evening? And we make our predictions for 2021. What can Phoenix achieve? But first, it's been a long pre-season. How do the boys feel about it? Here's Rising's James Musa.
I think I would say, if I could use one word to sum it up, I would say frustrated. I'd say there's a lot of frustrated guys. No one likes losing. And of course, the results haven't been going our way in preseason, but I think there's a bigger picture in all of it. So I don't hang my head, too high on the results. It's more the performance, and can we improve every week? And are we doing this better? Are we doing that better? Are we improving in this aspect, but maybe not over here? So for me, I see it as a big picture, and there are some frustrated guys, but again, it's just get your head down, work, bring that work rate, bring the energy and the intensity, and everything should be okay.
Frustrating, of course, but Jake, what have we learned over the last month?
I mean, we've seen a team that we actually expected to see improvement each time out. Granted, they were playing MLS teams, right? And they started a little earlier than Phoenix did. So you can give them that little excuse there. Obviously, you have the talent gap as well, but we never saw anything collectively getting better. We never saw, and specifically talking about the attack, it was just ideas went begging, or just there was no creativity, a lack of creativity. And that is the concerning part. It's not the fact that they were losing. You could justify losses in the preseason. As Musa was alluding to, you're trying to build on little things, but at least from our standpoint, we never saw those little things being built and improving in each match. And I mean, it's definitely left some question marks both at the back and up front heading into match day one.
Well, last weekend, Schantz told us he'd be putting in the hours this week to get the side ready for tonight. Here's what he thinks that comes down to.
Most of preseason is physical preparation, but there's also emotional, psychological, and and then tactical, right? So I think emotionally, what's gone on for us in preseason is it's been a challenge, and there's so many new faces. Sometimes you come to a big club like Phoenix Rising, and you think that I've arrived, but they needed to quickly realize that if everyone new and old and staff as well have to earn your stripes every season. And I think they really turned a corner after New Mexico. I know there was a players meeting Sunday morning. I was there at Regen with them at the pool, and they understand it's about accountability now. And then I think psychologically this week, it's just being focused on 3 points. This is when it counts. And knowing that you can't win a trophy on Friday night, but you can get 3 points. And starting fast is important to us, and so that we don't have to make an uphill climb. But again, it's just one game, because then after that, I think we get Oakland's first ever USL game, and then after that, we got to fly to Tampa, and you get the Eastern Conference champion. So I told all the guys today that when you're the best, you don't get an easy schedule.
So do you think they've had enough time to fix, what went wrong in that New Mexico game so that they're ready for tonight?
I mean, I don't think they will be able to fix it all in a week's time, less than really 6 days. But going back to you can't win a championship at the beginning of the season, you can definitely lose it. We've been talking about it. How many points do they need in the first month, let's say? Like Rick just alluded to, he has a hard schedule coming up. You don't know what you're going to get from Oakland, and obviously Tampa is defending Eastern Conference champs, and you have to go on the road. So that's never an easy task. So I honestly don't know what to expect, if I'm being completely honest. You can't expect them to be any worse than they were against New Mexico. I mean, that was a flat out just piss poor performance. The first real match, technically on your home pitch, albeit preseason, so it won't actually count. But it was just it was frustrating to see multiple times Santi had the ball on the left, and that was right in front of where we were standing, and it was just you could see a giant hole in between the midfield, Santi, and then you had Rufat, who could receive service, but isn't necessarily the greatest aerial threat. And that's what I'm alluding to when I'm talking about the lack of creativity or the lack of options. It's there should be something or someone else supporting these players when they get into these positions, and it seems like they're just not. And I don't know if that's tactical. I don't know if that's player miscommunication, whether that's match fitness. But all that said, I do think the fans will make a big difference on Friday. I'm thinking that will give them some energy. And we've seen it historically. Phoenix is just a much better club at home in front of the fans.
Yeah, we've been focusing a lot on the negatives of pre-season, but are there any positives that you'd take out of it?
Yeah, I think that they realize if you weren't on the team already, the expectations that come with Phoenix. And I was speaking with John Baquera about this. When you get to the point of you're expected to win trophies and it's kind of win a trophy or it's considered a failure, that's when you know that the pressure is on you. And I think that's also what Rick kind of said when he was saying, oh, don't think you've arrived. Yes, you are playing for Phoenix Rising, but you still have to live up to those expectations. So I think it's actually better that if they were going to get some bad results, quote, out of the way, I would say do it in preseason so you realize what's happening before you actually play these games that are going to matter. And, you lose a match to San Diego. I mean, that's almost like losing two matches because it works double against you.
Of course, one of the other positives is the role that the academy players have played over this last month, and they put in some very convincing performances. Some of them, Niall Dunn especially, he earned his USL Academy contract earlier this week. But where is the academy as a whole? I spoke to first team assistant coach and interim director of development Danny Stone earlier this week to find out what's happening with Rising's next generation. So if we look now, big picture, what would you say, the general state of the academy?
I would say as of today, the academy, the work that's been done this last 9 months or so since the beginning of this current season, I would say the work that's been done with the academy has been fantastic by all the staff involved with it. And I think as far as where we stand today, the academy is in as healthy a position as it has ever been. We've had a professionalized program of technical work, of a training program for the players. We've had a professionalized program as far as working and interacting with players and families within the program. All of the academy teams have flourished from a performance point of view from that work. And then as far as individual players go, we've had 8 or 9 players that have worked with the first team, maybe even 10 actually, that have worked with the first team through their pre-season. 6 of those very regularly for the last 6 weeks. And obviously Niall Dunn now has just signed an academy contract to be eligible for first team games for the current season. So as far as production from that for Phoenix Rising, it's been an extremely successful program, extremely productive from a player development point of view. And we also now have 4 players that have just been invited into the national team ID camp program as well from the 2004 and 2005 age groups, which I don't believe the club has ever had before. So I think as far as the work that's been done, the staff involved from Chris Brown with the youth club operations to Andy Chapman, Blake Kennedy is a performance director for the academy. Nate Kitchell is the goalkeeping director, and obviously Steve Cook has had large involvement until recently. It's been a relatively small staff of people for a professional academy program. And to everybody's hard work and everybody's credit, the program has been, I think, delivered to an exceptionally high standard, and you can see the results of that from, like I say, whether it's individual player or team performance or a club-wide perspective. I think the club is in a better position from a professional academy point of view than it has ever been before. Is what I see.
So one of the common comments from American fans, especially who aren't used to having academy setups, is how does this really benefit the first team? So I guess what are those benefits you'd see?
Well, that varies, to be honest with you. I mean, the obvious benefit is that hopefully in a professional academy program is designed to produce and develop high level players and give players the opportunity to become as high level players they're able to be. And that's obviously different for everybody. Not everybody is going to become clearly a professional soccer player. However, from a club point of view, the academy should be in place to both develop players for our first team, or to develop players, like I say, to the highest level of their ability. Maybe that's a high level college program for them, and it should be something that helps develop good people as well for the organisation. So I mean, there's lots of different benefits from it. As far as a player point of view, the hope is that you create an environment that allows every player to become the best that they can be, and ones that have the ability and have the potential to become professional players. You hope that pathway then carries on through into the first team setup of a professional organisation, or somebody else's professional organisation. Maybe players go above and beyond Phoenix Rising, and maybe there's a different pathway for them. But again, the academy program, I think, has been extremely successful in offering every player, whether that is enjoying high level youth competition or being able to go and compete at a collegiate level when they leave the academy program, or as we've seen with some of the players this pre-season, being able to compete in first team games against MLS and USL competition and perform very well. And then obviously, you see the first one come through this year with an academy contract with Niles' recent academy signing, and I think that's a benefit for the organisation, in that these players come through a system and have an opportunity, you hope, at the end of it.
And then the boys who have been out there in pre-season, taking part in training, taking part in friendlies, how big has that been for their development?
I think it's an important part of their development, in that they're high-performing players within the club's development academy program and the MLS Next academy program, and I think it's reward for them for the hard work that they've put in. It's reward for them for the outstanding performance that they've put in the MLS Next youth program and the academy program, and I think it's then a further evaluation of potential for those players to become higher level than an academy program will eventually offer. So once they graduate from that program, it's part of a continual evaluation, and it gives them a test playing at a level that is not one that they receive weekly in the youth setup. So it is an important piece both for them to learn and for staff to see how they adapt and how they can cope and compete at that higher level. And I think all of them that have come in have performed very well in training, which is as big a piece as the game playing portion of it. They come in and train every day with the first team, and the players that have come in and done that have shown extremely good qualities, and have not only held their own with the training sessions, but performed very well within them. And then again with the games themselves, we played a lot of MLS competition this year, and players such as Niall Dunn, Blaze Hardy have both played a lot of minutes against high level competition and performed extremely well. So that's credit to them, and again credit to the entire staff of people that have worked very, very hard with those players through the course of this year.
Obviously, you mentioned Niall. He signed the academy contract earlier this week. Do you think he's ready to step out there now and play in a competitive match?
I think if Niall was asked to do that, I think he's shown through pre-season that he has a good head on his shoulders and a composed nature about him and a quality about him as a player that he's shown that he's more than capable of competing and playing at that level should he be asked to. As far as is he ready today to do that? I would have no reservation if he was asked to play in a first team competitive game that he could step in and do that. But at the same time, there should always be a level of patience with these players and allow them some time to go through that process of adapting from youth academy soccer to professional soccer. And and obviously there's always a difference between pre-season competition and pressure and games that have points on the line and have standings behind them during the USL season. But again, if Niall was asked to step on the field and play in those games, I think he's shown that he would be more than capable of doing that. And I certainly have every confidence in him. And it's been great to see his adaptation to the professional environment over the last 8 weeks of pre-season. And like I say, that gives me the confidence to say if he was selected at any moment for a professional USL Championship game coming up, that he would be more than capable of stepping into that from a quality point of view, from an ability point of view, and also, like I say, from a maturity and a composure to be able to compete at that level.
And just to round us out, how far away do you think we are from the academy producing someone that's not just going to, potentially get some minutes during the season, but that could become a key part of the first team?
Well, it's a very difficult question to answer that. It's I think the honest answer to that is that none of us know. There's a lot of factors that go into players' development and players being able to come through, and that's obviously individual factors for the player themselves, and then the environment and the club in which they're part of. Does it work for them? Does it fit for them? Does it offer opportunity for them? And is it structured and is the environment set up in a way that works for that individual? And those are very unknown answers. Honestly, I think the honest answer would be to say that none of us can really predict that. And I think to try and pretend otherwise would be incorrect. But what I would say is that if things carry on moving in the same way as they have done here for the last 9 months, then hopefully we provide an environment where that's possible. But those are some things that are unknown. And as far as the organisation goes, we hopefully moving forwards, the pathway continues to be there and opportunities remain. And again, that'll remain to be seen. But I think all we can do right now, as far as a coaching staff and a technical staff working with those academy players, is keep working as hard as possible to provide those players with as much quality coaching information and guidance from an environmental point of view, and give them a platform from which their ability can become whatever it can be. And that's there are factors in that none of us as coaches can control, and that is the same for every player in the world. That's the reality of how it is. You have to, as a player, be in the right place for you, for your development and for your needs, and that fit what the club are looking for at the same time, and that those things have to come together in order for opportunity to be there. So we'll have to kind of be patient a little bit with that one and see. But like I say, I think really what we can say is we've been very pleased with the work and the production that the academy has had over the last 9 months since the beginning of this past season, and we hope that continues.
That was Rising's Danny Stone there, telling us about the club's academy. But let's move on a bit more to the here and the now and focus on what we expect to see out of tonight's opponent. Early this week, Rick Schantz gave us the lowdown on what he expects to see out of San Diego Loyal.
Very good team. A lot of their players are players that we were interested in, and we just didn't have the space really for those guys when they wanted to come to us. But we've known about a lot of their players, and Landon and his staff have done a really good job of collecting talent. They play a peculiar system and style that is it seems to be more prevalent in world football now, and with kind of a 3-4-3 and really crowding the middle of the field, but possession based, and it creates a whole nother challenge for us. So tactically, we had to spend a lot of time the last couple of days, just talking about what they do and the challenge that they present. They've got a player that's actually from Phoenix, Nicky Jackson. Really, really dynamic forward, good kid. We were interested in him a little bit. Again, it's sometimes it just comes down to timing on whether or not you can have players, and this is good for the league when, if we could sign everybody all the time and have 40 or 50 players and collect all the talent, we would try, trust me. But I think that this league has gotten so competitive.
So, Jake, we all saw what they were like at the end of last season, but obviously San Diego has been strengthening over the offseason as well, and they brought in some very good new players. Let's talk through some of them now. Let's start with Jack Blake. What do you think he offers this side?
Jack Blake was someone that I was, just like Rick said, someone I was excited to see maybe Phoenix go after. We've seen him play against Phoenix, obviously, back with Monarchs, and he's just a player that brings kind of that gap that I was alluding to earlier between the midfield and the forwards, and maybe could really give Rising that offensive push when needed. Looks like that guy's going to be Arturo Rodriguez for now for Phoenix. But in terms of Friday night, he's going to be someone that you're going to see Aiden Quinn and Kevin Lambert having to make sure that he's marked. And if he does get on the ball, does have time, it's not a lot of time. He closed down the space, and you can't let him be on the ball freely, because if you do, he's just going to find passes and pick you apart.
It was not his best season last year, but with 11 goals throughout Monarchs' title season, he could certainly prove a threat. But of course, he's not the main goal-scoring option among Loyal's latest additions, because that title belongs to Corey Herzog. But before we talk about his gameplay, we need to talk about some of the other games he's been playing. Here are his words on social media just a few weeks ago.
I love competing against everybody, but all four Phoenix games. I hate Phoenix, so those games I'm really looking forward to. So April 30th can't come quick enough.
Hating Phoenix? Here's how the Rising camp responded.
That's something that's very important to us is maintaining composure, staying focused throughout the game, staying concentrated, and we'll see what happens after. I think, they're like, as I said, Corey Herzog's a fantastic player. When he was in the Eastern Conference, he scored a lot of goals, and he went to Reno. He was a thorn in our side and made it very difficult for us. And look, our team and our club have been very successful, and there's a lot of players that probably lost in playoff games to Phoenix Rising, or they lost in the regular season to Phoenix Rising. And when you see a team that's kind of got this type of success and you're not a part of it, I'm sure there's, some, I don't know the right word, but I'm sure they want to put it right back on us. And it's a responsibility that our players have now.
Well, some people that can fuel the fire, and it can give them a reason to go in there and do something in the game, and it can make the game chippy. But for me, I think, listen, if I was on the opposing team as well, and, I'm facing Phoenix, who has such a rich history in their short, 4 years, I think I'd be feeling like that too. And I think, Aiden Quinn probably felt like that when he played for Orange County. You could probably go down the list of guys that just wanted to beat Phoenix. So I think it's more, I don't take it personally to me, because if he was sitting in our changing room, there'd be someone else saying it too. And ultimately, a lot of these guys do want to play for Phoenix, and, they didn't get signed or they go somewhere else. So it's a bit of both. Everyone knows Phoenix is the epitome of, a top team in USL. So they either want to be here or they want to run their mouth. So
they either want to be here or they want to run their mouth. Well, Jake, do you see those off-field comments factor into the game at all?
I think a little bit. At the end of the day, everyone's a competitor, and I know fans talk a lot about wanting players to quote unquote hate teams like a fan does as well. I think, like Musa was saying, if you're someone who's consistently come up against the same club and cannot beat that club, you just hate that club because they keep beating you. They're the reason why you can't get to the goals that you're trying to get to, right? I think the way it ended for Reno, how it ended for Herzog last season, you have a 2-0 lead, you're at home, and it just doesn't go the way you wanted it to, right? And it's just a frustrating thing for him. But honestly, I don't know if it impacts too much on the pitch. I mean, they'll see him and they'll have a little, oh, that's Herzog, but they're pros. I mean, at this point, it just motivates them more. But I don't think it actually is something that is in their mind while they're playing. Maybe while they're training or something. Use that as
controversial comments aside. What kind of a threat does Herzog pose to Rising tonight?
A threat is that's a different story, because he's someone that definitely is going to have to be paid attention to. He's quick, he's good on the ball, and he's good at finishing. Obviously, all forwards are. That's why they play forward. But for him specifically, he's a player that I will expect to see try to get in behind, and not only that, he can also use his body. He's not the biggest guy in the world. Don't get me wrong. He's not going to be thumping any headers, and I don't expect to see anyway off of corners or anything. But Rising, seeing the way that they had been giving up goals this preseason on defensive mistakes back, he's a type of forward that if you turn the ball over in the midfield and they get it to him, Jack Blake gets it to him right away or gets it to him in behind, you're talking about a one-on-one or just a defender that's trying to knock a guy off his shot, but he still gets that shot off and will test the keeper.
So are you confident that, all things considered, Rising can actually pull off a victory tonight, or do you think it's a step too far?
I think they can. There's no reason why they can't. I know there's this whole, hanging over their heads of the preseason, but if we go back to the last couple of seasons, at some point it just clicks. The ball goes into the net, and whatever it is, that just gets the boys going. And whether we saw last year with Rufat didn't score a goal in the preseason and then had a hat trick, albeit it's T2, but still 3 goals in the professional realm is 3 goals. And then when you go back to 2019, the wheels were falling off with 4 points after 4 matches, and then they go on to win 20 league matches in a row. So again, like you had been saying earlier when we were talking, a fast start to the season is needed. But it's not the end all be all, but you need at least a point, just because of the standings impact it has on you.
Well, of course, this is just one game of many, 32 in fact, that we're going to see this season. So what should we expect from Phoenix? Here's what local media is predicting. So Jake, you're here today, obviously. Can you talk me through your views here?
Yeah, I wanted to pick Phoenix to finish first in the Pacific Division, but I just don't foresee it happening. I mean, what we saw last year, if we were to play, I don't know, maybe another month, maybe another 2 months, I mean, San Diego would have 100% made the playoffs, and who knows what the standings would have been at that point. So obviously Rubio Rubin is gone now to Real Salt Lake of MLS, but they have a 32 game slate. They have Landon Donovan, who has been there now for over a year. You have the majority of the team is back, defensively especially. Ben Spencer, former Phoenix Rising player. But you have all of that. You have something that you built on, and everything that team went through last year with Phoenix and LA. I think they're a team, a true team. And I think that just has clearly proven to be a problem. Landon Donovan has figured out Rick Schantz in the last 2 matches, albeit the last one was a forfeit. It was still 2-0 at the time. And we've seen that match before that, Phoenix lost at home. So obviously Landon Donovan has figured something out about the Rick Schantz system. He's figured out a way to exploit it. And we've seen that on the counter, and which is why I brought up with Herzog. If you're going to get in a pace contest with Phoenix Rising, maybe the defenders this year have a little bit more pace than we saw last year, because depending on who was back there last year for Phoenix, pace was definitely a problem at the back. So hopefully Phoenix Rising's depth over the course of the year, is the reason why they finished second and pushed for first. But as just what we've seen from this season, in the preseason, what San Diego has done to Phoenix recently, in terms of when they last played, I just think San Diego will be too much of a problem for them. And even if it's just they get the points over Phoenix when it's head-to-head, those are big swings. Those are 6-point swings if you lose. So I think for that particular reason is why San Diego will finish first in the Pacific Division.
And then, everybody pretty much here has picked San Diego as the toughest challenge in this division. Does that just, sum up how big a challenge tonight is going to be?
I think it just kind of culminates what everything is. It's the biggest match of the season so far, obviously, but it's on ESPN2 for the whole world to see. It's the opening of the new stadium. Phoenix has so many ambitious goals about their club going forward, and you have to face San Diego with what happened last year, and obviously they came out with the initiatives that they're going to be doing with that, and I think that's great. But at the same time, San Diego is also a really good team, and they have to play the team they were supposed to play in the final week 3, and they have to play maybe the second or third best team in the Western Conference, a top 5 club in USL maybe. It's a really hard beginning of the year.
And then 4 different people picked. Everyone who predicted this predicted a different person to be the team MVP. Are they going to surprise us and it be someone completely different, do you think?
To me, it really could be anybody. When I was thinking about who the one person would be, I just ended up falling on James Musa. Aiden Quinn was a short second, but James Musa to me purely because you lost not only Corey Whelan but also Damon Lowe. So you lost both center backs from last year. So in losing basically both positions of your starters, you're going to have to replace with one. Musa is very talented, and I think that'll be the biggest difference, because if it didn't have a guy like Musa who could control the ball with his feet and be good in the air and be a vocal leader, break lines from the center back position, it's something that's required for Shantz's system. And if you don't have that center back that can do that, you're just asking to turn balls over in the midfield and create a lot more work than needs to be done. And I just think because you've lost your 2 center backs, Lubin is hurt for however long, and then you also, like I said earlier, you lost your 2 top assistant coaches in the last 9 months. So for all those changes, I think Musa, for what Schantz wants to do, he says he wants to build from the back. I think he's going to have to be that rock, that most important part. I mean, like he said, there's only 3 true center backs, and Niall Dunn is the 4th. And he's been driving for 6 months.
Well, Rufat Dadashov, there's your motivation. You weren't picked by anybody. Prove us all wrong. So that brings us to a close here today. Thank you to Jake for joining me, and I'm sure you're hoping that Rising Tonight will do better than your beloved Roma. And of course, thank you to all of you at home. Remember, tonight's match kicks off at 7 p.m. at Wild Horse Pass. For those of you who don't have tickets, it'll be airing on ESPN2 rather than the usual networks. From all of us here, enjoy the match. Goodbye.